Hello and welcome to another episode of the Wisdom of Friends podcast. Thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time listening, then thanks for coming. This is a podcast where you get to learn more about your friends and community, their wisdom, their trials and tribulations, timeless insights, and their secrets. Now, let's get into the show. Please welcome your host, Cal Arras.
Hello, folks. Welcome to Season 3 of Wisdom of Friends. I'm your host, Cal Arras, and today I'm really excited to be introducing you to a dear friend of mine. His name is Dr. Sameer Joshi. Sameer and I, we went to the same undergrad school at MIT, Manipal in India. Upon graduation, Sameer followed it up with an MBA program at a top business school in the UK, and then he joined Siemens, the German tech conglomerate, after his MBA, and went on to have a distinguished career there, holding many senior management positions and also being a member of the company's exclusive corporate top talent pool. In order to realize his business aspirations, he started his own venture in the manufacturing space, a conventional brick and mortar business. And today he owns and runs several businesses, both online and offline, including the manufacturing company he started initially, a digital marketing business, and a renewable energy consulting business. Sameer is also on the advisory board of a Silicon Valley industrial technology company in Palo Alto, California. Friends, this is a fascinating conversation where Sameer and I catch up on our magic memories that we shared during our undergrad days and our life's journey, the successes we've had, the setbacks we've experienced, and turning our weaknesses into strengths. And this is really a conversation that's got a lot of good insights for your life, for your career, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. So without further ado, let's welcome the one and only Dr. Sameer Joshi. So good morning, Sameer. Welcome to the Wisdom of Friends show. I'm really excited that you took the time to be on this program. And let me start off with my first impressions of you. We first met actually almost 23 years ago in our engineering college way back in India at MIT. And what an incredible journey it's been for both of us. And I'm really super excited that you're on the show sharing your insights as well as your life's experience. So welcome to the show.
Hey, Cal, it is awesome to be on your show. Thank you very much for having me. I much appreciate it. And I'm so looking forward to it and talk to you and your audience.
Thank you so much. And one of the ways, Sameer, we start off our show with a simple but profound question of our guest, and that is, what's your favorite quote or philosophy that you live by, and how have you applied it to your life?
Okay, so my favorite quote, actually, it's not a quote. Actually, it is just it's just two words, and that is keep moving. It's pretty much as simple as that, and I have it from Martin Luther King, actually, from a little video snippet of his that I saw, and the way it has helped me is that I've been through a lot of ups and downs and challenges, and the one thing that I found that has always helped me is the fact that I've always gotten up, brushed it off after I've taken a beating anywhere, any challenge or curveball life has thrown at me, and I've just kept moving, and that actually is kind of the theme of the way I have gone through life and the challenges. Yeah, and the other thing is, obviously, because you're talking about quotes, and I don't know if this is one, I heard many years back that common sense is not so common. This is also something that has helped me understand the world a lot better.
No, I like that. And I think what you're referring to is keep moving is really a good metaphor for, no matter what life's challenges happen or come to you, it's really an opportunity to keep forging or keep moving forward. And I think that gives you the momentum to take on any kind of challenges. I really like that. And I think, and I think the other point exactly, I totally agree with you about common sense not being common. And I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges that we as a society have. It's like we take it for granted. No, that's great. And then that brings up my next question. And Sameer, I know that you're originally from Delhi, and I was from Bombay when we first arrived at MIT. And, we spent some glorious years with some amazing experiences. And this is such a fantastic a platform for us to get together and reconnect after so many years.
Absolutely. It's amazing.
and it's funny that when we look back at our lives, we had no idea how life was going to unfold when we were in our engineering colleges. And what an incredible journey that you forged for yourself. And just for the benefit of the audience, Sameer, after he graduated from MIT, he went to Siemens, the German tech conglomerate, and then he got his MBA, and then he had a pretty distinguished career out there in a pretty senior leadership positions within the company. And then now he's gotten involved with a lot of entrepreneurial aspirations, and he's got a couple of brick and mortar businesses with plant machinery as well as online businesses. So now my question to you is, Sameer, and I'm going to get into this, the journey that that has unfolded for you. But what I'm curious about is, what did your parents do, and how did that shape your life?
Right. So what did my parents do? I mean, my father is a person of the corporate world, right? He had a long and distinguished career himself. In the corporate world, he was on the board of a pretty big company in India. And a lot of what I have learned about life and about the corporate world, I have learned from him. And I continue to do so, although I'm not active in the corporate world as I used to be. I have my own entrepreneurial activities. I have my businesses, like you mentioned. But yes, so my father is from the corporate world, and my mother is, she's a homemaker and continues to be one. To the great appreciation of all of us, she stayed at home and took care of me and my sister. And just made sure that we have a great childhood and a great home to be in. So that's where my parents' background is and where I'm coming from. And the way that it shaped me essentially is that I got to know a very different aspect. The outside world is seen through my father's eyes. But also the inside, the home world, the domestic base, so to speak, the home base through my mother, and I think those two very different aspects have really shaped me in substantial ways.
No, that is so great. Our parents play such a big part in growing up years, and it seems like it certainly made a difference for your own life and your own career success. And that brings up another question, Sameer. I know that after we graduated from MIT, you took a path which is a little unconventional in the sense, not unconventional for most Indian immigrants, but you went to a business school in the UK, and then now you also hold a PhD in business studies. So Tell us about your journey. Like, what made you choose academics, and what made you pursue higher studies like a PhD and a doctoral program?
Okay, so here's how it happened. So when we were doing engineering, we were all so fixated and so keen about technology and making a change with technology, and I loved that part, right? But I knew that something else is missing, and that is the business world that I had gotten to know through my father, right? So he was all the experience that I got through the insights that he's always sharing. So I knew that there is the business side of things, and I wanted to find out more about it. So I went and did an MBA program in the UK. Now I'm what one would call a European Indian, not so much an American one. So, obviously, and you know this, you're an example of that as well. I mean, many people from India, when they go out of the country, their choice of destination is the United States. I love the US. Like I said, I live partly in the US as well. But I was really connected to Europe. So I wanted to come to Europe, and this opportunity with the Manchester Business School came up at the time, top European business school, and I said, that's what I want to do. So I did my MBA program there, and I went in there without any business experience. And it was one of the most challenging times of my life. I didn't know much about business. I'd heard about it. But I learned all these things. But after I got done, I got into to Siemens. I had a great career there. And while I was having that, I knew that I wanted to I wanted to develop further on this, which is why I went on a quest, on an academic quest, to figure out how small companies, small renewable energy companies, and I was heading a renewable energy business within Siemens at the time, how these companies actually benefit from or suffer from the effect of globalization. And this was actually almost an academic project. And I was speaking with a professor about it, and he said to me, you know what, young man, you need to write a PhD about this. So, I laughed it off at that moment, but then I went back, and when the wheels started churning, I said, oh my gosh, I need to explore this topic and figure out. That's what sent me on the PhD path. I couldn't know at the time how this PhD would actually turn out and how it served me. But this has gotten me to do one of the things that I do now, which is I also teach. I provide business level education to university level students, which is something that the PhD enabled me to do in addition to all that I have done on the corporate side and continue to do on the entrepreneurial one.
No, that is so great. And then essentially, now you're based out of Germany, is that correct?
Yes, my family stays in Germany. So I have businesses in Germany and in India, and I'm on the board of a Silicon Valley technology company based out of Palo Alto in California. So this is how I get to spend my time in any given year in India, in Germany, and in California.
That's great. And so what was your thesis about while doing your PhD? Was that about renewable energy as well? Or?
Yeah, so it was about small companies in the area of renewable energy and entrepreneurs, just beginning level entrepreneurs, startup companies who are taking a lot of risk, but they want to use renewable energy as a source of transforming how the world produces but also consumes energy. And these kinds of companies is what I was looking at, and also what the impact of globalization is on the success of these companies. I would have thought that they would have a huge benefit from globalization, which also turned out to be the case. And I was, the PhD was about how correlating this level of success of the companies and the extent of their globalization. So I basically had to start with defining globalization in this context and also defining success in this context, because success can mean different things to different companies, and making this correlation was what this PhD was all about. What an exciting journey that was.
Oh, I'm sure it must have been, and probably took a lot of commitment on your part to do that. And now you also own some brick and mortar businesses as well as some online businesses. Could you share a little bit more about what these businesses do? And
Yes, yeah. Just one quick thing about the commitment. I was doing my PhD. At the time, I was having a full-time job at Siemens, and I was on a very high growth path as well. Yeah, so my day was days and nights were really full of activity and work. But there is something, passion drives you in ways that you can't imagine being driven. So just like yourself, we've been talking. I know you get up early in the morning and follow and do things that drive your passion. Similar in my case, I'd get up early in the morning, 4 or 5 o'clock, do research and all that kind of stuff. And this is how my PhD helped me out, and I got done in a relatively short but a very, very intensive time.
No, that is great. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's really a good point. And I think the key to productivity is really what I found is to, it's the early morning hours that for me particularly that I found beneficial is the prime time that we got. And, that's when the world is sleeping and you can really focus on some of your critical few objectives. And that's really been one of the key component for my own journey of being productive. So no, that's good to hear that we share some of the same philosophies there, even after all these 23 years of travel from MIT.
The thing is, I'll be very, very, very upfront. I don't consider myself to be the sharpest tool in the shed. I'm not bad, but there are many people who I draw a lot of inspiration from. And one of the things that many such brilliant people taught me at the time, and I always used to be a night person, is that they said, you need to use the early morning hours. You need to become, 5 a.m. guy or 5:30 a.m. guy, whatever your sweet spot is, find it and use that time. So yes, absolutely. I absolutely agree with what you just said. Quickly about my businesses, because that was your question. I have a manufacturing business and that produces granulates out of rubber. And these are this is like plant and machinery kind of business. It's a factory hall with heavy machinery in it, and it is producing little granules that are the size of rice grains or even smaller, sesame seed size grains, but it's rubber, and this is used as raw material in various industries, such as even road building or making sports turfs, like basketball courts or the layerings for that, or hockey fields, even cricket fields in India and our part of the world. It's used in making rubber mats or rubber molding, so it's a raw material business over there. It's a manufacturing business. That's one of the things. I have a renewable energy consulting business as well. So I help companies set up renewable energy projects, and this is based purely on my experience and knowledge of the market. And it's a very, very exciting field, and I'm, really excited about the fact that I can help companies, especially smaller ones who don't have so much of access into the market, to get going and really put up projects which produce renewable energy. Now, my online businesses actually are an offshoot from my manufacturing business, because to sell the rubber granulates, I always wanted to not have a huge sales force, but I wanted to sell this online as much as possible. And which is how the e-commerce business started, which then went on to be, more of a online coaching, online marketing business, and that's the digital marketing part of my business, which I have been able to grow over the years, and that's it's doing really well, and I'm really excited about that. So those are the businesses that I'm in.
No, that is so great, and it seems like I can see a method to the madness in terms of that you've chosen careers, you've chosen projects that really you've been able to leverage your experience, your background working at Siemens, as well as your fascination for business and also technology as your undergrad, which played an instrumental part in your success. And so it seems like what you're up to now is manufacturing with rubber granulates, and also your own consulting business for small entrepreneurs and small businesses and mid-sized businesses for to enable them to go green, and then also the e-commerce business. So it seems like you really are creating a nice vertical there, if you will, for for businesses to succeed at all levels. Now that's so great. And so my next question to you, Sameer, is when you look back at your life up until now, we've all had these moments in our life, the strategic inflection points, if you will. What were your breakthrough success moment for you? The moment that totally turned things around, or the turning point in your life, that life was never the same again moment?
Okay, life was never again the same. So, changes in location have always played a huge part in completely transforming the way I have looked at a place, and how my life has become thereafter. So, one of the transitions that I had is after I started my business studies. This was in Manchester. I was a really confident, I went in there really confidently, and that I'd do well and all that kind of stuff. And in the first few weeks, I was close to a breakdown, to depression. Right? I said this is something that is unsurmountable for me. This is just too much of new stuff, and I actually don't know anything in this area. And what really happened is that one of my professors, and really grateful to him until today, he took me to the side and he said, "You know what? I think you're being a bit too hard on yourself. Just break this down into smaller, bite-sized pieces and start taking one thing at a time, one day at a time." And this was after, I was close to just going crazy. Yeah? And after that conversation, things really started changing, and I started seeing light at the end of the tunnel. It was really that dark for me that I said, I need to get out of here. I am new to this country. I'm new to this area. I'm new to new to business as such. Coming from a technological background, and that really helped me. That really transformed me fundamentally. But change of location and change of country, I believe, has actually played the most important part, especially that of leaving India. I'm a first-generation immigrant, just like you are, right? And leaving India, I always feel that I started taking life very, very, not seriously, but very keenly and positively after I left India. Before that, I was looking at it from kind of how shall I say, perspective that would get me to believe that everything is ideal in the world, and it's not. Yeah, the world is not an ideal place, and that transformation basically gave me a lot of perspective, and that holds on within me until today.
Now, that's really a great share right there, because I think one of the things, and I totally resonate with what you just shared, because oftentimes these change of locations, like especially if you're an immigrant, like you and I were early on when we started our journey, that the struggles, the challenges, and it takes something to get used to a different environment. It takes something to adapt to a different culture. It takes something to be able to blend into a whole nother dynamic that if you're not used to, it takes some adjustments. But I think what that also allows in the long run is it gives you the edge, because now you figured out a way to not only bring your work ethic and hard work, but there are ways that you're bringing a perspective that a lot of other people may not have, having come from a different environment. And I think that's what they call it, the immigrant's edge. And if you look at all the businesses in the Silicon Valley, I know you're on the board of directors of one of the firms here.
Yeah,
that's why entrepreneurs and immigrants end up starting all these incredible out of the box thinking businesses and to become successful. Now, that is such a great point. Now, the other question that brings up is when you look at your life up until now, right? And most of the guests we've had on the show so far, they've had challenges, they've had setbacks. But one of the ways that I've noticed something about these incredible people who've been extraordinarily successful is that they do not look at failures as failure. They do not look at setbacks as something that stops them permanently. They take that as an opportunity and use it as a stepping stone for even bigger challenges. So my question to you is, what is your favorite failure? And what I mean by that is a failure in retrospect, when you look back, really was actually a disguise and blessing in disguise, right? It turned into a major success down the road. Was that something that comes to mind?
I think I lost audio there.
Oh, did you? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. So,
yes,
something does come to mind. Yes, I have something that comes instantly to mind. And it came to me as a complete disguise. After I got done with my MBA program, I had two things in mind. I was, in my early 20s, I think 23 years old. And I wanted to, I just had either investment banking in mind or consulting, right? Management consulting in mind, and especially investment banking. And I got several offers from big London banks. They wanted to, want me to join the investment banking group over there. And I was really excited about it. Now, the thing was, I didn't have a work permit, okay? I had an Indian passport. I didn't have a work permit. They needed to arrange all these things for me, and that was a long and tedious process. So I had to make a decision. Yeah, the other thing that I wanted to do was to join Siemens, which was actually not my first choice. Yeah, it was not my first choice. So actually, I started off being a bit disappointed that my first choice of joining an investment bank has actually not come through. Yeah, I don't know if you can relate to that kind of a situation where I was waiting for my work permit to come. I have a job offer in hand, but I can't start working because I can't start working. So I had to kind of bite the bullet and go and work for the internal consulting group of Siemens, which is a superb position to be in actually, but I didn't see it at the time. I didn't know how to see the appreciation that was the opportunity that was being provided to me. So I went there with a kind of a bittersweet taste in my mouth, saying that actually I've just come to my second best option. But now that when I look at it, that has probably been one of the best things that happened to me at the time. So the failure of not being able to go into an investment banking career, and I don't know how it would have been, or how it would have turned out. You never know. Yeah, I mean, you can only have one shot at doing something that you're doing. So I know this part, and I'm so glad that it has turned out fantastically well. For me, and what I saw as a failure at the time, that I couldn't join the investment bank for reasons that were totally beyond my control at the time. I went ahead and I had a fantastic growth path in a company that was not all that familiar. And especially a country that was not so familiar to me, because I didn't speak much German when I came here. I had to teach myself German, and people ask me how I speak German or where I learned German, and I always tell them the story that the Siemens headquarters are in Munich, and the business here starts in October, and that's when the Munich Oktoberfest is. So I used to go to the Oktoberfest and talk to all kinds of people over there without any inhibitions, and that's how I learned German, essentially. So people ask me, where did you learn German? I say I learned it at the Oktoberfest. I learned it at the Oktober, which is true, actually. It's a pretty unconventional way of learning, but for sure, what I considered to be a failure at the time, that I could not work in London because of work permit reasons, actually turned out to be a blessing in disguise. I was able to make, have a great career at Siemens over the years thereafter. Incidentally, after a few months after I joined, the work permit did come through. I went and also got it stamped onto my passport at the time. But after I had it, I said, now I need to give it a cool thought. And I said, I've started on this journey. I am with Siemens. It's really difficult. I don't know anybody in Germany. I don't know anybody in Munich. It can be a pretty cold city, cold not temperature-wise, but as far as getting connection to the society is concerned. But it turned out to be one of the best things that could have happened to me.
No, that is so great. And I like your sharing right there. And I can also relate to that because, having the work permits and having the visas early on as a student and as an employee. And then, it takes a little bit of, luck to be on your side. And it seems like, this new career path that you carved for yourself with Siemens worked out really in your benefit, and that's led to what you're doing today. So, no, that's really great. Speaking about German, how fluent are you in German from a scale of 1 to 10?
I'm given to believe I'm native speaker level.
That is so great. I am sure. So you've been a fan of some beers as well? German beers?
Yes, I stopped drinking substantial amounts of alcohol several years back, but until then, yes, I very much used to be. Yeah, and especially the Munich brands, especially the ones that are at Oktoberfest. Here's a little trivia: the Oktoberfest in Munich is a very well visited and celebrated annual event here in Germany, very traditional as well. But you have to be a brewery located in Munich to be able to be at the Oktoberfest and to be selling beer over there. So I know the Munich brands really, really well. At least I used to when I was a bit more involved. Let's put it this way.
That's great. The next question for you, Sameer, is I know we both went to the same university back in India. Now, is there any specific mentors that you want to give a shout out to that comes to mind, or who inspired you early on in life in terms of teachers, professors, or anybody, and who inspires you today?
Right. So the thing is that I found that mentors change and the role models change as your phases of life progress. Yeah. So they're really, I can't pinpoint on one particular person, but I can talk in phases, if that's okay for you.
Sure, yeah. Go ahead.
So when I was growing up, my father was my role model, and to a very large extent, he still is. Yeah, his business acumen, his all the things that that he's taught me and continues to teach me. Like every son, or most sons who have the opportunity and the fortune to do so. We look up to our fathers, and that's exactly what I did as well, and I got a lot of input from there. I grew up studying music or doing a lot of music, Indian music. So I used to look up to Indian musicians, very famous ones. Ravi Shankar is one of them, and to see how they reached out with their message and reached out to the masses with their message of music. So I used to take a lot of inspiration from them. In the corporate world, the name that instantly comes to me is Jack Welch. He used to be a former GE CEO. I've taken so much inspiration. He's actually a big competitor of Siemens as well. I don't work for Siemens anymore, but Siemens and GE have been traditional competitors, and I've taken a lot of inspiration from Jack, his work, his message, and how he transformed many things. And as life has progressed on the entrepreneurial side, obviously there are so many entrepreneurs, even very charismatic ones out there who I continue to take inspiration from. But I also see my spiritual side opening up since the past 5 or 7 years intensively so, and especially people of peace come to mind, such as the Mahatma or Martin Luther King or His Holiness the Dalai Lama. these people are the ones who I take a lot of inspiration in this stage.
No, it's really great. And some of these are some of my mentors as well in terms of looking up to and what they've accomplished and what they've contributed to life and society. These are really great historical figures as well. My next question to you is, having gone through the ebb and flow of life, Sameer, and seen life at different perspectives, as an immigrant as well as now a resident of Europe and having traveled to the U.S., what now is your definition of a successful life or a good life at this point in your life?
Wow. Success. Okay, so success is usually defined as achieving a goal or purpose. Now, this might be a bit unusual, but I have found that finding one's purpose, especially for the more driven ones amongst us, the act or event of finding one's purpose is what I define as success. I went through a large part of my adult life until now not knowing what my purpose is. Now that I do, I find that finding your purpose is what I define to be success. It might not sound very tangible, but it is probably one of the most tangible things that one can experience. Many people go through life without experiencing this success, but I think finding one's purpose is my definition of success.
No, I like that. That is such a unique answer, and I haven't heard anybody share that before. Now, because I think what you're saying here is beautiful, because once you identify what your calling is, once you identify what your purpose in life is, because then everything falls into play, because now you are on a mission. You're on you have this incredible passion to pursue a path that no matter what kind of challenges or obstacles come along, you will transcend this. You'll go around it. You'll try to go over it, or whatever you need to do to get to your to accomplish your mission. And I think that's such a great point. So, and this is a perfect segue for us to get into our next section, which is some of the questions that we received from the audience. And so the follow-up to that previous question is, so tell us, if somebody is looking to find their passion, Sameer, what would you advise them as to how should they go about finding their calling? How should they go about finding their purpose in life?
I think I think the best way to answer this is sharing my own story. And I found my passion by looking within and looking at things that I really love to do. Really just finding out for yourself what you love to do and something that would help others become better versions of themselves. This can be technology, this can be art, this can be cooking, this can be anything, but just finding what you really love and then deciding to do that, and at the same time really blocking out what society and surroundings are telling you. I think that is the way to find out what your passion is. Like I said, I'm a real person. I've made there are a lot of vulnerabilities here. I haven't followed really the ideal path to get here. But in the beginning, I did believe a lot of what society was telling me was right for me. That's not necessarily the right way. I would never, pass this further to my own son. I'd, tell him, find out what you love. Ask yourself what you find the best motivation, peace, and drive in. And the success, don't worry about the success. It'll come when you see the passion. The passion is there. And that's actually the way to find what your passion is. You need to look within.
No, that is so great. And I think one of the exercises that I did a while ago that really helped me quite a bit as well was really making a list of the things that make me happy. And,
yes, very good. Exactly.
And then what I did after that is, and there's a second step to it that's very important as well. Once you have a list of 25 plus things that makes you happy, then take those items and schedule it on your calendar. And follow that calendar and honor that calendar like you would with any other task. And that would make a profound difference in your quality of your life, because now you're doing the things that makes you happy and you have it on your calendar. And so that's one way I've noticed that to really alter the state of mind to be more in a joyful, happy state. And if you're happy, you can make people around you happy as well. And I think the other aspect of it that I found incredibly useful in this regard is, when you set a goal, it's equally important to know why you're doing it. It's that Simon Sinek thing is, the people really want to know why. The why is more important than the what and the how. And I totally agree with that, because I think the idea here is, the way to ask that question is, what is it about this particular thing that is important to me? And kind of like drill down like 7 layers if you can. And I think that can really help you find your mission and the reason for doing anything. And so that's so great, Sameer. And then my next question to you is, are there any specific books that you've read or reread over the years or gifted it to others?
Yes, I have. Actually, this might be a bit unusual, but there is a book. Because of my PhD, I came across thousands and thousands of books, but I did not find the answers that I was looking to many questions that I needed answers for. But there is a book by an Australian guy called Gregory David Roberts, and his book's called Shantaram.
Oh, that's
Have you heard of this?
Yes, I've heard of it, and I know that they were planning on making a movie out of it as well at some point. I don't know if it's still in the works but no, that's a great, and we'll add that to our show links for the benefit of the audience. Any other books that comes to mind?
Yes, I mean, obviously, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Yes,
I've gone through it several times. The Science of Getting Rich. This is another really favorite book of mine. And richness not in the wealth terms. This is not how I would define it, but just how to how to lead a more enriched life is what the message is in this. And these are the books that instantly come to mind, and I've given these to people to read. Not my own copy, obviously. I have a lot of notes in it. I scribble a lot of notes in it. But I gift it to whoever I can, or give these books to whoever I can. And there is a lot of philosophy. It needs to be real. It needs to be a bit detached from what we can see, just with a normal view. But at the same time, it needs to bring whoever is reading it a step further. That's what I look for when I'm going for a book.
No, that's great, and we'll include that in our show links here. And so the next question is, what was the best piece of advice you've received in life?
In life?
I know, I understand that's a pretty broad question there, but yeah, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
In life, be committed and be patient. That's the first thing.
No, I like that. Yeah, go ahead.
The second one, and you don't mind me being a bit a real life type. I mean, I'm a real life person, and these are also some things that expose vulnerabilities. And the other quote is, or the other advice is, there are no permanent friends or no permanent enemies. There are always permanent interests. And this is more of about. This helped me in especially in a corporate context, immensely so. And I know that it's a very controversial state of mind to have. In the beginning, I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to live by it. But I was taught these lessons of life, and I said, "Oh my gosh, yeah, that advice that I got at the time was really telling me exactly this.
No, that is. I like that. That is such a beautiful and a powerful insight right there. I think it's a nugget of gold right there. Thank you for sharing, Sameer.
Sure.
And then the other question that comes to mind is, and let's say this is a hypothetical situation, and we had a time machine, and if we could go back in time, Sameer, and talk to your young self, let's say your young 19, 20-year-old self, what advice would you give him?
Yeah. The first is stay away from Cal Aros, because that's when I got to know you.
And life was never the same again.
Life was never the same again, right? Hi. It's interesting that resonates with you so well, yeah? You didn't expect the answer, but to come back to your question, if there were a time machine, and this builds upon something that I was mentioning earlier, I would tell myself, just like I would tell my son now, is do what you love and not what everyone else thinks you should do.
No,
this is what I would tell myself. This is what I would tell a younger version of myself. Do what you love.
Yes, I like that. It's really going back to following your purpose and discovering your passion and going for it. No,
exactly.
That's great. And then moving on to our next section, Sameer, this is a rapid fire round, and this is where I'm going to ask you a bunch of fun questions, and it's the first response that comes to mind. And so if you feel a need to elaborate on it, please feel to do so. But again, this is the rapid fire round. So Sameer, are you ready?
Yes, I am. Absolutely. Let's go for it.
All right. So, number one, the first question. What's your favorite music band?
Music band, the Beatles.
Okay. Number two, whose brain would you like to pick?
The Mahatma Gandhi's.
Number three, do you believe in magic?
No.
Number four, if you could ask God one question, what would it be?
What's your definition of God? I'm not asking you. This is the question I would ask. You think I was asking you for your definition?
No, that is great. Okay. And the next question, what color describes you best?
Light blue.
And the next question, if you could have witnessed one event in history, what would that be?
The Big Bang.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's spoken like a true engineer. Okay, and then the final question within the rapid fire round, and this is, if you could have any message of your choice on a billboard, what would that be?
This is off script, man.
Yeah, you got to think a little bit here.
Okay, I think I know what it is. Could you repeat that question?
Sure. If you could have any message of your choice on a billboard, what would that be?
I read this on a billboard, and I'll share that. And it said, live life king size. Do you remember that?
I do. I think it was what, Will's cigarettes or Gold Flake?
Yeah. It doesn't matter what it was. I wouldn't go behind what it was, but I'd say live life king size.
I like that, and I think that's a beautiful one. And then the other one, that one of my favorites is living large in charge.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah. That's what I would. That's what comes straight to mind.
That is beautiful. Awesome. And then moving on to our next and the wrap-up section, the final section of this interview here, and that is the wrap-up section. And I've got three final questions for you, Sameer. The first one is, what is your current personal or business passion project, and what are you looking forward to in the next 6 months to a year from now?
Okay, so my current passion project is that I am taking my offline, the brick and mortar, the rubber granulate business, to its next level. The company is undergoing transition and turnaround, and I want to put this on the next footing so that we can get to the next stage of B2B relationships with our many customers. So this is something that I'm following intensively right now. And coupled with this, but on a slightly different note, I probably shared with you, I've been called upon by an esteemed business school here in Germany to be a professor of strategic management. And in the next 6 months, this is a very big deal in the German society. At least if you are, if you're working in a corporate structure, or if you are an entrepreneur, that if a university calls you to teach students, this is considered to be a pretty big deal here. So I want to do that and prove to myself that I can be as successful in a classroom environment in sharing my insights as I'm so grateful and blessed to be in the business and in the entrepreneurial world. So these are the two things that I'm following right now. I just got done with a product launch. This was for my digital marketing business. So I have that behind me now. It went off really well. But now I'm looking forward to these two things on the business side and also on the education side.
No, that is fantastic, and I wish you all the best with your endeavors and projects. And
Thank you.
And the next question is the 3 things you're grateful for in life.
Wow, 3 things. The list is long, but let's talk about these 3 things. The first thing that comes to mind is obviously one would take this for granted, but to be alive, and to be breathing, and to be in good health. I am really, really grateful for this. The second thing is being a father, and there in the role not just of a procreator and a provider, but also the receiver of love and appreciation from your own child. This is something that is that I'm really, really grateful for. And the third thing is broader, much broader, and that's experiencing love, and both giving and receiving love. I came across many people who haven't had the possibility of experiencing love other than from their parents or siblings or things like that. I consider myself to be really fortunate and grateful for these 3 things. But like I said, the list is long. These are the first things that come to mind.
No, that's beautifully said, and it's very inspiring as well. And so I want to acknowledge you, Sameer, for a few things here. The first thing that I find very inspiring is just an incredible journey that you took, right from our MIT days all the way to starting on this opening of frontiers and trailblazing your way to like the top echelons of corporate success, and not only being satisfied there, but continuously working on improving yourself, pursuing incredible academics in terms of going after your PhD, and then taking that to the next level with starting a business, and then now launching a business and really being a consultant to many other businesses as well. And then this is like the amazing thing that you're doing is taking all of that to the next level by being a professor at a university back in Germany. And that's such a incredible, inspiring journey that we all can learn from as to what is possible when you can really keep moving forward, keep on moving. And
thank you. Thank you. That's so kind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
And one final question, and this is how we wrap up all our interviews, and that is, why do you think people should listen to Wisdom of Friends?
Wisdom of Friends, your channel.
Yes.
This is the easiest of you should have asked me this right up front in the beginning, because this is the most easy question to answer, according to me. And the answer is because it is awesome. And I'm not blowing powdered sugar up anybody's whatever, or no honey down the throat over here. Cal, you have reason to be really, really proud of what you have achieved with the work that you do. This is just fantastic. I draw so much inspiration from Wisdom of Friends. I listen to the interviews. They are so inspiring, and I feel really honored that you asked me to come onto your show, because the kinds of stories that I've heard there, and the podcasts and all the messages that I've gotten from them, they have changed fundamentally many of the ways that I look at things as well. And what's true for me, why shouldn't it be true for others as well? So absolutely, anybody who's listening to this and anybody who comes across your channel, and also especially the ones who don't, they have to. You got to listen to Wisdom of Friends, because I really think it's awesome content there. It's genuine, and just like this interview. I mean, we're not we're looking at things that people have gone through, their stories of regular people. And who have translated or converted their even weaknesses into strengths, and sharing their stories. I take so much inspiration from that, and I'd really recommend anybody to listen to it.
Great. Thank you for that feedback, Sameer. I appreciate it. And again, I valued our conversation this morning, and I really appreciate the fact that you took the time to dial in from Germany for this podcast. So really a pleasure to have you on the show. And for those of us who's listening, with that, we'll wrap it up. And if you like what you heard, please share. Don't be shy.
Thanks for listening to the Wisdom of Friends show with Cal Arras. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our web address, theglobalcontribution.com. To your friends and colleagues, be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous episodes. This has been a Seven Symphonies production. Join us next time for another edition of the Wisdom of Friends.